Twitter announced this week that they are going to, well, a couple of things happened. First of all, Twitter had its financial results.
Yes.
And
not good.
They weren't great. They only had 2 million new users in a 3-month period.
And I contest that. Well, I don't know how many of those are fake or bots.
I would bet half of those, as is often the case with Twitter, are spam or fake accounts.
Yeah.
So 1 million, maybe. Compare that to, what was it, 83 million that Facebook got in the same quarter.
Right.
And they have done nothing. Going back to their previous CEO, Dick Costolo, who said, it's on me. We haven't done a good job dealing with abuse. We've done a terrible job. We're going to do it better. And they haven't. And now, you've got Jack. They tried to find a buyer. Jack Dorsey, the CEO, apparently interested. F. Williams, one of the founders, not interested. Nevertheless, the board encouraged them to find a buyer. Or was it the other way around? Ev wanted to sell and Jack didn't. I can't remember. But nobody will buy it.
It's a toxic brand.
Because I think that's the problem.
It's the
harassment. You point that out in your article, that no advertiser wants to be in an environment where you don't know what's going on.
You don't want to be sandwiched between 2 bits of hate speech.
Right.
You don't want your brand there being presented.
Twitter's, well, go ahead and say it.
I was just going to say, Twitter's never been more relevant.
Exactly.
Yeah. It should. We need it desperately. And I'm so afraid that they're going to fail and fail and fail, and then they're going to sell it to some company that's going to strip it for parts and just milk it for whatever all it's worth, and it's going to be this lost opportunity.
Well, then that was even the rumor, is that some hedge fund or investment group would buy it and do exactly that. What you really want is almost a journalistic entity to buy it, right?
No, my fantasy is that some well-meaning billionaire buys it as a
Jeff
pet
Bezos type and says,
well, maybe well-meaning. I said.
I think Jeff's done pretty well with the Washington Post.
He really has. He's done a great job.
I think he deserves credit.
And he does have his own space program, so respect for Jeff Bezos. But see, I want it to continue to be what it is, minus the harassment.
Yeah.
And that there's one thing that they do that they refuse to change that I think is the whole problem, and it's this. So if you go to Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, every social network except Twitter, if somebody replies to something you post, you can delete it. Twitter has refused to do that. So if somebody puts hate speech as a reply to my thing, I can't do anything.
You can actually delete it.
I can't delete theirs.
But you can delete it from other sites.
From every other site. Yeah. Every other site. And that's why Twitter has a special reputation for harassment, because there's nothing. You have to go hand in hand to Twitter and say, please, please remove this person. They're clearly a troll. The whole account is nothing about except harassment. But then every time you build an anti-harassment feature, they build a better harasser. So they figure out how to get around these things. Instead of death threats, they say, oh, somebody should kill you. It's like,
there's a technical issue with this. That's the same reason they don't add edit. Yeah. Right? Everybody says, oh, you should be able to edit your tweet. But the problem is that with Twitter, once a tweet goes out, deleting it doesn't really delete it. Because there's third-party programs, there's databases, there's the Library of freaking Congress, there's people archiving Twitter all the time. So once, and somebody should tell the U.S. government that once you put a tweet out, it's there permanently.
Right.
So you could delete. I guess it'd be better than nothing. They've announced some initiatives this week. Three of them. Tell us about the 3 initiatives.
Okay, so one of them is that they remove problematic results from search. So if people are tweeting something that's harassment or hate speech or low quality content, and you search for it, you can't find it. It won't show up in search, and they base that on the wrong criteria. The criteria that they use is if somebody's been blocked by a lot of people or muted by a lot of people, their post don't come in. So
humans are better at this than machines.
Way better.
So this was your point in the article.
Yeah.
Was that humans are better than machines at this, and
at understanding the nuances of language, but to the search point, now this becomes a source of harassment. So for example, lots of people have blocked you, Leo, and now you're not going to show up in search results.
Right.
And so now
because Twitter will misinterpret that signal as
it's a dumb signal.
Yeah.
Right? Because the haters
what
now
would be better?
What would be better would be for everything to show up in search results, and then every tweet or every reply to your tweets has 2 buttons. One is delete this reply.
For me. For my
you, but it deletes a reply for everybody. Nobody else
Yeah.
can see it, and third-party
So it's
issues
like
and
a
so on.
comment thread instead.
It's like every
of
other
a
social
stream.
network. On Facebook, if somebody replies to something you post, you can go in, there's a menu item, you say delete this, and it goes away.
And it
that's
really does go away because
It
you
does
don't
go
have
away.
third-party clients, you don't have a history, you don't have search.
Exactly.
You know, so it can. Twitter
But even if it
would have to
continues
change
to
their
persist
structure.
on third-party clients, it would still, on the main site...
Twitter
if
would
you-
have to kill the API or modify it.
I don't really know what percentage of people are getting on the app or on the site or whatever, but that would be one thing. And the other one would be delete this reply and block the user. And then block should have more juice than it currently does. But that's really the secret sauce. Now this...
So what they propose is to make it harder for people to recreate serial accounts. An abuser, by the way, I don't know
And
how
that's
they're going to do
problematic.
that because we have abusers who use, spoofing and so forth. It's very almost impossible. They create a new email address, spoof the IP address. How do you know it's the same person coming back?
So think about this. Let's say a janitor comes in here and uses your guest network to harass somebody.
Yeah.
They shut down your IP address, and now
That wouldn't be
nobody,
good.
no guest, no employee, nobody
Yeah.
can tweet or set up accounts. That's I don't know how they're going to do that.
So somehow
anonymity.
they're going to identify people who've been suspended and stop them from creating new accounts. If they could do that, that would be helpful. That only, in my opinion, that works most with people like Milo Yiannopoulos, who wasn't anonymous. You can say, Milo, you can't create a new account. He may have created an anonymous account, but he can't create a new account under his own name.
Right.
So,
Right, there's like a reputation aspect to it. But
that's a small number of people.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of
Anonymous.
trolling happens
Yeah.
because you can do it anywhere, and your reply shows up no matter whether you built a reputation or not.
Right.
Yeah.
The simple solution to that is pseudonymity, where Twitter knows who you are. You have to prove to Twitter who you are. And then you can have any public name you want. And then they should have an option that says, you know what, I only want to know I don't want to hear from anybody who's anonymous. Unless I follow them or...
we were told they were going to do that.
Yeah.
They were starting to do
Expand
that.
the verification.
Yeah. But they apparently abandoned that.
Yeah.
They we mentioned removing from search results and the problem with that. Right. They also say maybe they'll collapse or hide objectionable replies,
Which is a useless feature because it's again head in the sand type of attitude that Twitter's already had. If there's low quality content, and by the way, their search algorithms, their software is going to misfire on this as it does on every other social network. On Google Plus, like 10% of the things that they hide are perfectly good content, and 10% of the garbage they allow.
So it's hard to do this well.
It's hard to do it well.
If Google can't do it, I doubt
But
Twitter.
then they hide it from me, and if I unhide it or hide it, it just only affects what I see.
That's my biggest problem. They've proposed this. They always say if you complain about somebody, well, just mute them, just block them, then you won't see it. But that's not the problem. It's I don't care about seeing it. It's about other people seeing it.
Right.
That's a problem.